I'm just back from the Odyssey and I'm making this video in the middle of the night because I'm still flabbergasted by what I've seen on the big screen at my local cinema. Not really because of the cinematography, like it's a Christopher Nolan movie, of course it's going to be great, but more of the story itself. Because for context, I'm a big nerd if it's about mythology, especially Greek-Roman mythology. Those stories about great heroes being tortured by the gods, I've read them all in their respective source material, so I can say with confidence that I know what I'm talking about when talking about the Odyssey itself. First of all, I want to talk about Odysseus, our big hero of today. The intriguing part of Odysseus is that his powers lie in his slyness and intellect. That's how he wins from enemies stronger than him. We hear this in the beginning of the movie when Spider-Man learns how to fight. This aspect of Odysseus' character is shown in the movie, like when confronting Circe and when the Trojan horse, and with like the entire Troy flashback you see like every 10 minutes. But this movie isn't about Odysseus outsmarting his opponents. No, this movie is about how people violate Xenia, or like how the movie describes it, Zeus's law. To put it simply, Xenia is the law of hospitality, where guests are expected to be treated with respect. Violate this law and you make Zeus angry, and let me tell you, there are enough stories to let you know why you don't want to make Zeus angry. So it is a law that was handled with care. Xenia is mostly bound by social class and was often used in a pragmatic way, but then Christopher Nolan hits you with the biblical golden rule of treat others the way you want to be treated, which isn't Xenia. Who would have guessed that in a movie that's about people constantly abusing and violating Xenia, the director himself violates Xenia the most by butchering the definition of it. Talking about butchering things, let's talk about the characters. So I want to begin with Calypso. If I would be stuck on an island with Calypso for the rest of eternity, I wouldn't complain. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't even be able to escape because Calypso's entire character is that she will never let you escape. So Christopher Nolan, please tell me why Calypso is trying to help Odysseus to escape, and why does she have the lotuses from the Lotus Eaters? So for the people that don't know, in the Odyssey the Lotus Eaters were a race of people that gathered around a lotus tree to eat these lotuses and stay in an everlasting state of being high. It's like having the most heavenly blunt rotation for eternity. Some of the men of Odysseus ate of these lotuses and got into this state, never wanting to go back, but Odysseus, the one that didn't eat it, forced them to get back to the ship. So in the Odyssey, Calypso keeps Odysseus imprisoned for 7 years and tries to let him forget about his family. The only reason Odysseus was able to escape is because of Hermes, like an actual deity, needed to force Calypso to let him go. But now, because this Calypso is so caring and understanding, there's not even a need for godly intervention. It's as if Christopher Nolan explicitly tried to avoid gods in a movie about Greek mythology. And this is something I also want to talk about, like the use and depiction of Greek gods in this movie. So before you're going to march through the comments and tell me that we have Athena, the goddess of wisdom, played by Zendaya, I want to suggest that it isn't Athena at all. My theory is that what we see as Athena is nothing more but a hallucination of what this Odysseus thinks Athena looks and talks like. A hallucination formed by trauma by seeing a girl, also played by Zendaya, killed during the fight in Troy. And we hear characters talk about the gods in the usual ways, like Spider-Man thinking someone may be a god in disguise, people talk about Xenia or Zeus's law, or Seaman praying to Poseidon when the sea is acting violent. But the Aderis Deus Ex Machinas we all love aren't there. Hermes doesn't help Odysseus to escape from Calypso. Hermes again doesn't help by giving the cure to Circe's magic. The sea goddess Ino isn't there to keep Odysseus afloat when Poseidon wrecks his raft, and we don't see Aeolus giving Odysseus a bag full of captured wind so he can sail back to Ithaca. It is as if the time of the gods is over, they aren't really there. I mean, that's a very creative way to mark the end of Greek mythology, because with the end of Troy, Roman mythology began with Aeneas fleeing Troy, which would eventually lead to the creation of Rome. But if the gods are absent, why are there still like monsters? Like a Cyclops, for example, and Cyclops are children of Poseidon. Let's begin with the Cyclops. Polyphemus is his name. They don't tell you that in the movie. So his design is fire, I admit that, but my god, he got even more butchered than Calypso. So in the story, Polyphemus eats some of Odysseus' men before they give him some wine so he turns drunk. When he is drunk, Odysseus is able to strike a conversation with him, and Odysseus tells Polyphemus his name is Nobody. When Polyphemus is sleeping, Odysseus and his men strike his eye and turn him blind. And when Polyphemus shouts for help to his other friends, he explicitly says that nobody has hurt him. You know, Nobody, the one that hurts him. But his friends think Polyphemus has turned crazy because how can nobody hurt you? And that's like the best part of the story. At the end, Odysseus and his men are able to escape like in the movie, not before Odysseus tells his real name, which causes Polyphemus to pray to Poseidon to curse Odysseus, which causes all the problems later when they return to sea. And that's why when looking at the movie I'm just confused, because they strike Polyphemus' eye and turn him blind, then you learn he can speak but they do nothing with it. No nobody mind games, no calling to his friends, nothing. Yes, Polyphemus prays to Poseidon and tries to curse them, but how can he do that if he doesn't know a name? I don't know, but that apparently works too, I guess. At least he throws a rock at Odysseus at the end. That's accurate to the story. I just don't get why they decided to keep that part in, but not like everything else. Then we have the Laestrygonians. Why do I know they are Laestrygonians? If I must be honest, I don't know it. I explicitly needed to search it up because the only resemblance they have to Laestrygonians is that they are giants. Why do they have medieval armor? Why does the child in the beginning have a cosplay from Timu? Why don't they eat humans? Why is Circe's house on the same island? Too many questions, but I don't really have an answer. But then we got to the blood ritual at the edge of the world where I see Tiresias, and that's surprisingly accurate. Talking about nice things, I also really like the design of Scylla in this movie. You have the original depiction, which looks a bit like this. Ignore the dogs that Circe is doing, but seeing this design is so much more fitting for a sea monster that mercilessly kills people. It acts more like a force of nature, like Charybdis, who is on the other side. Talking about Charybdis, I don't want to be that person, but her design is nothing compared to the second Percy Jackson movie. Like, look at that. Now at the Odyssey's one, like, she doesn't even have teeth anymore. Because of these things, I couldn't really take this movie seriously. On top of that, the casting also took me out of the immersion. We have Spider-Man as Telemachus, John Twilight as another pervert, at least this time he wants a woman that's like actually an adult. The voice actor of Bowser Jr. as Agamemnon, holy shit, is that Travis Scott from Fortnite? In the end, Christopher Nolan took the Odyssey, distorted it to his liking, and made a story I would say is more of a thing on its own than a movie about the Odyssey. In my opinion, the best way for Christopher Nolan to correct this is to dedicate his life to remake the Odyssey in 10 movies, each one lasting 3 hours. But apparently he's taking a break, so I don't think that will happen. So what do I think about this movie? Yeah, it's good. Would watch it again. 8 out of 10.